Okay, so we said we were going to make this video, and so we are going out there and doing it. We are talking about Patrik ALLVIN'S, Vancouver Canucks GM, who had himself an appearance yesterday in front of the media. This is an article on The Province written by Patrick Johnston that goes over the more notable quotes from the Canucks GM regarding what exactly it is the team is interested in doing heading into the next few days, what their plan is heading into next season, and how everything has changed since the OAL buyout, what that does for the team, and how things can go moving forward. So, without further ado, link is going to be in the description if you want to go ahead and read PJ's article in totality. It's right here. Canucks GM Patrik ALLVIN'S, as ever, is holding his cards close ahead of the NHL Draft. PJ introduces the segment by saying that Patrik ALLVIN'S met with members of the local media for about 25 minutes on Wednesday, dishing out on a wide variety of topics, including the decision to buy out veteran defenseman Oliver Ekman-Larsson, the overall status of his roster, and his plans for next week's entry draft. By the way, the draft is coming up in a week. That's kind of wild. Like, I'm so used to it being in July that having it so early in the year is kind of messed up. But either way, these are some of the quotes from Patrik ALLVIN'S that he talks about when it comes to the roster. There's no doubt that there is a lot of work to be done here in order for us to get better. We didn't want to come back with the same team because we weren't happy with the performance last year. And okay, cool. Yeah, I wasn't happy with the performance of the team last year either, and I don't even work for them, so I can understand where that perspective is coming from. And it's very apparent that the biggest roster move that they did was the Oliver Ekman-Larsson buyout. Patrik ALLVIN'S says that Ekman-Larsson simply hadn't performed well enough. He said that at least 3 times in the interview. And that may or may not come to a shock to Oliver Ekman-Larsson himself and the party that represents him, because apparently they did talk to ALLVIN'S at the end of the season, and they were interested in seeing how things would go further next year with a full season's worth of time under Rick Tocchet. But yeah, ALLVIN'S is not wrong here. OEL was not good. He definitely wasn't worth the money. Worst trade in Canucks history. I'm going to stand by that till the day that I die. Or until the day that Patrik ALLVIN'S decides to trade away the 11th overall pick for a bum. Who really knows? I hope that's not foreshadowing. Knock on wood, hopefully that does not happen, but this is where ALLVIN'S talks about players that are going to be a part of the team, not the OELs, not the buyouts, but other players. He endorsed the status of Tyler Myers and Brock Boeser. Myers has just 1 year left in his deal and has been in trade discussions in the past, while Boeser made and then rescinded a trade request this past season. This is what ALLVIN'S says about that. There was definitely a significant improvement in Brock's game and how he played. He definitely made it clear to me and the coaching staff that he was excited about the vision and the path of this team and wanted to make sure that from his standpoint, he wanted to be a part of it. I'm excited to see Brock in September. He also says this about Tyler Myers: I think Tyler was one of those players that really played and performed a lot better since working with Adam Foote and Sergei Gonchar, having a better understanding of how and where the puck was going to go. As we stand here, I anticipate Tyler to be a part of this team moving forward. And so there you go, folks. Boeser and Myers both going to be on the team, which leaves, what is that? Conor Garland, Anthony Beauvillier, maybe who else? Tanner Pearson on the trade block to free up some money. It's actually pretty alright now that they bought out OEL because they're no longer absolutely pinned over to the cap. So they have a little bit more flexibility, which could lead to other teams having less leverage against Vancouver in trade conversations for these players. But we'll wait and see. See what Patrik ALLVIN'S ends up doing. There also is a conversation had in this piece regarding the Russian factor, and whether or not the Canucks would be interested in drafting a Russian player at this year's draft. It's notable that Mikheyev, Podkolzin, and Kuzmenko did not go back to Russia so far in this offseason, Patrick Johnson writes. Mikheyev said he was planning to spend all summer in Vancouver to recuperate from his knee surgery, and ALLVIN'S acknowledged that to his best of knowledge, neither Podkolzin nor Kuzmenko have traveled home. Now, Podkolzin has been actually practicing in Langley, I'm pretty sure, with guys like Ken Johnson and a few other hockey talents from this area. Meanwhile, Kuzmenko, while he may not have necessarily gone home, he did spend some time in Dubai a little bit, so yeah, cool for Kuzmenko for doing what he's doing. This is where ALLVIN'S talks about the Russian factor and whether or not it's going to affect their perception in the draft. We'll see if any of the Russian players will be available or not where we're going to pick. And that's all that he says about that, because bigger conversations have unfolded about the Canucks actually moving up. Most observers, PJ writes, expected the Canucks to be ready to trade down from 11th overall. So it was somewhat eyebrow-raising to hear Allvin say he is ready to trade up in the first round. I'm looking at options if we're going to trade up, if that's something we have a chance to do, to get a player that the scouting staff has identified to be more intriguing than the one we're going to get at 11. And that is not a new idea. We had already made a video talking about the Vancouver Canucks moving up to draft Leo Carlsson because, I mean, look, he's a Swedish guy. Patrik Allvin has drafted a lot of Swedes so far. And, I mean, with Matt Sundin being the comparable for Leo, you could understand why anybody would be coveting a player like that. But it is interesting that Allvin mentioned several times throughout yesterday's press conference that moving up is an idea, that it does exist and that it is something they'll try to look into. Because with all the speculation of them having to trade down to free up some money like Conor Garland and the 11th overall pick for something, this is the complete opposite. So we'll see whether or not the Canucks actually have it in them to make a trade, give up some assets to get a better prospect in this draft. I was told by former GM Brian Burke that you can always move up in the draft, Patrik Allvin joked around about. And of course, this is in reference to the Sedins' more Swedish lore with Vancouver Canucks history. There also was a conversation happening about Elias Pettersson. Patrik Allvin said this: Pettersson's performance over the last season put him in the top 10 to 15 players in the league. And yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. He's a very good player. He has a great future, Patrik Allvin says. I want to have him part of this organization moving forward, and I'm looking forward to continue the conversation with him regarding the deal. The good thing is there's no rush. We still have his rights for another 2 years, so we'll see where it goes from here. And, I mean, okay, we didn't really say anything there. Realistically, I mean, he kind of says what everybody else is thinking, to be fair. Sometimes an update is as equal as having no update, but at the end of the day, I won't say it's not productive to have an update here. Either way, though, Tanner Pearson also has talked about he had a whole bunch of surgeries, and Patrik Allvin says the indication I've got is that Pearson's hand is healing, and he's preparing to be part of training camp. Now, for me personally, I have no idea. Like, that could be capped, that could not be. I mean, he's had a whole bunch of procedures, infections, it's been tough to deal with. The article goes into detail, but I don't want to read that because it's kind of gross. But either way, Tanner Pearson is still a member of the Vancouver Canucks, and if he is able to play, then okay, that's a middle six forward that has okay defensive responsibility and not really the best goal-scoring touch as much as he had in the past. I don't really know if it's more beneficial to the team on ice if you have Pearson in the lineup or out of the lineup and using his LTIR space to get some more assets. Who really knows? But either way, those are the updates that we had gotten from Patrik Allvin. He talked about the OEL buyout, he talked about Boeser, Myers, Pettersson update, Pearson update, the draft. It's a few things that we can't really say we're too surprised to hear about, but it's nice to have it there at the very least. So if you saw any value out of this press conference, then hey, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What are your opinions on how Allvin handled the media today, or yesterday at least, and what are your opinions on everything that he said? There wasn't really too much to add in regards to brand new, just revealing information. Aside from Tanner Pearson, I guess, there wasn't really anything here that I think could necessarily be said is revolutionizing what we think about this team, but at the end of the day, Patrik Allvin went out there and in typical Allvin fashion just kind of gave a vanilla status update. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Patrik Allvin. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.